everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Games We Love, a weekly video game podcast where friends get together for mostly positive and always fun discussions about games, industry news, and more. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron White. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin. And this week I'm joined by my friend Brad. Hey, Brad.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a little different today. Sadly, as I'm sure many listeners already know, Aaron came down with a case of shingles.
Oh no.
Ouch. Sounds very painful. I didn't know a lot about it, and it sounded like Aaron didn't either until he went to the doctor and was kind of educated on it. And it's something to do with dormant chicken pox that lives in your body, and there's no rhyme or reason. It just activates itself. Usually when you get older as an adult, like kids don't get shingles, they get chicken pox, and then that gets better. And then all of a sudden one day you're playing some games, playing some TMNT, and then the next thing you know, you're in pain, and it sounds awful. So we're definitely wishing Aaron a speedy recovery, and hopefully he'll be feeling better next week so he can join us. But hey, you know what? We don't want the listeners to go without a show, so here we are, and glad you could be here, buddy. I actually wasn't here last week, so oddly enough, it's kind of a flip-flop, and I don't really know that much of what's been going on lately. So how have you been? What have you been up to?
It's same old for me. I haven't been playing a whole lot of new stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit about Returnal, just a short update again today because I'm so close to 100%. But as far as games, nothing too new or that I've been invested in. And we'll talk about TMNT, surely, which you and I both played earlier this week.
So now, before we get into the gaming news, there's a big news item in your personal life, Brad. Bradbury Sprinkles, the film critic, has returned.
Oh my goodness.
The triumphant return. So why don't you tell the folks a little bit about your return to the big screen as a critic?
Oh, you didn't have to do this, sir. I haven't reviewed a movie in a couple of years. I've just kind of fallen out of it. I wasn't feeling enlightened, I guess, or inspired.
You weren't feeling film, so to speak?
Oh, nice plug. I know Aaron will appreciate that. But yeah, I just, for whatever reason, it started like catching up to me. It was fun going to 2 or 3 movies a week for a while, writing for Review STL. And then after a while, I started procrastinating, and then it just became so overbearing that I was just need to take a break from it. Maybe something I'll see one day will inspire me to write again. But yeah, I saw The Black Phone this week, and I'm excited to talk about it. I don't know if this is the platform to do it right now since we're going to focus on video games, but I had a good time with it, had some problems, but it was nice to kind of, get back in that mindset of writing again. And of course, as always, I'm not in love with what I wrote, but hopefully if I start spending more time doing it, that I'll feel better about it in the future.
I think you're too hard on yourself because I always really enjoyed the reviews that you've written. I think you do a great job, and I hope that you keep up with it and get back into it some more. And that review is going to be up when this episode is posted. That review will be up on reviewstl.com. So if there are horror buffs out there and you don't feel like you're betraying Aaron too much, to find a review on a different site that's affiliated with Brad and myself, go to reviewstl.com and check that out. But before we get into the video games this week, we've got a listener question. So I say let's jump into that. Our question this week comes from @RetroLogic on Twitter, and they ask, what's the okayest game that you can think of that everyone else was like screaming overwhelmingly positive about, and you were just lukewarm on it? I'm going to let you go first, Brad.
I was hoping that you would go first because one of my answers, maybe 2 of them, is probably going to get me canceled.
But I think mine will too. So yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
I guess the question sets you up for that. Yeah. Okay, I'll start with the safe one. And it might just be because it's not my genre, so to speak. We've already tried it this year already with Trek to Yomi, but as much as I loved the art style and how everything plays it like a smooth game, Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima, I put maybe 6 hours in, 6 to 8 hours, and I just fell off flat. And part of me has been wanting to go back and check it out and seeing if maybe I just wasn't in the mood, because I'm very much a moody gamer when it comes to what I'm playing. But I
Ooh, that's
haven't
like a
pulled that
new
trigger yet.
Twitch channel, The Moody Gamer. I like it.
Yeah, and everybody was talking that game up so well, and deservedly so. It looks absolutely beautiful for its time, coming out on late PS4 and now the director's cut on PS5. But yeah, it was one of those things that everybody said, you have to play it, you have to play it. One of my good friends from my trivia team, he beat it and then started it right back over. He loved it so much, and I was just like, this is not for me. I don't think. Maybe one day, but my first pick is Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is going to be one that I think maybe even more controversial, because I think you are going to find, maybe not take issue with it, but I don't know if you're going to be surprised or taken aback. You might remember this from our previous conversations, but to me, it was Red Dead Redemption 2. I could not get into this game. It looked amazing. I thought that it was the gameplay mechanics were very intricate. There was a lot that you could do. I think it played very well, but story-wise, it was so slow to get into. And people love this game and talked about how amazing it is and all these 10 out of 10 reviews and everything. But I don't know, something about it. I didn't get very far in it. I bought it day one, $60, and put it down, and I've never played it again. So what are your thoughts on that one?
That was my next one, actually, because that has so much praise behind it. Everybody talks about Red Dead Redemption because, again, that is a beautiful game. A Western, a pure Western that is very interesting. I think Roger Clark does a great job with Arthur Morgan. I can't speak tonight, apparently. Made him a very likable outlaw. The game itself, like as you said, is very intricate. There's so many things that you can do, like just as far as trivial as brushing your horse, gives you perks and everything. And that's something I ever want to jump off of my horse and do, It's one of those ones where I started it like you did, day one, got it. I loved Red Dead Redemption. And after a few hours, I put it down and never touched it again until 2020, picked it up and pushed through the first 3 chapters or so, and finally, once I hit Saint Denis, I was deep enough into the game where it was, playable, where I was wanting to go back and play it. But it's something I'll never probably play again, and unfortunately, because it's a very beautiful game, but it's I had to. It was a chore to actually get to a part where I was enjoying it.
Interesting. Yeah, it really makes me wonder if I should go back and try it again, because I'm a fan of the Rockstar games. I like the way they play, and more so story. I'm not a huge online gamer, as I've mentioned before, but I like the Western setting. Again, beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous landscapes in the game. But yeah, it was tough getting through that story, but I'd like to at least give it a chance to, it's kind of like some TV shows, right? Some TV shows have a rough start and you got to get through the first few episodes. And if you do, you're rewarded for it a lot of times. Obviously not always the case, but there's some of the great shows that start off kind of slow and then they find their groove, or they get past whatever they need to introduce, and then you get to know the characters and all that. So hopefully that will be it for me next time. And we'll see whenever I get a chance to play that. I don't know when it will be. And do they have has there been any like rumblings of a remastered, a PS5 version, anything like that?
Who knows? They're probably working on another version of Grand Theft Auto 5. But there's definitely an audience there for more Red Dead, but I don't know when and where will ever come out.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do have one more.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be juicy, and it's going to make a lot of people cringe here.
I can't wait.
Breath of the Wild.
Oh my, okay. Okay, do go on.
I know a lot of people call that the greatest game they've ever played.
Wait, there's like a little red light on your forehead. Just what is that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Aaron's probably already in. I don't even know if Aaron's played Breath of the Wild, but
he's not even
going to
here,
be a
but
discussion
somehow.
on the Discord for sure. I am sitting right in front of a window. But no, I respect Zelda. I grew up on Zelda, but I think I've fallen out of the franchise a long time ago. But I got a Nintendo Switch after I got second place in a poker tournament that I host every year. and everybody was saying, you got to get Breath of the Wild, you got to get Breath of the Wild. And I played through it. I played through 2 of the Guardians or Divine Beasts, I think they're what they're called in that. And at that point, I just fell off. The weapons breaking all the time, and just the open world of do whatever you want, go wherever you want to go. I lost interest really quickly, and never had every once in a while I'm curious if I should go back, but I know in my mind that I'll probably never finish that game. And it's sad because I know how much praise it gets and from the community, how everybody loves it, but I just have no interest in playing it. So I don't know what it is, honestly, but yeah.
Okay.
That's
Fair
the one
enough.
I was
that's
worried about sharing, but I wanted to be open. So
no, that's fine. And yeah, I really loved that game. When I got Breath of the Wild when it launched, I played through it. I didn't play anything else. I got to the very end to whoever it is, Ganondorf, or who I can't even remember like what variant, like who it actually is, because I guess it's kind of always Ganon or Ganondorf of some sort. But one thing that irritated me about the game, I was so into it, I played so many dozens of hours into the game, and then at that point, and I believe it's changed since then, and especially since there's DLC, but when you beat Ganon, it ends, the credits roll, and you can't resume. All you can do is load the save point before you beat him, and I hate that kind of a boss in an open world game where you can't keep doing stuff. And so that frustrated me so much, because at the time there was no DLC, there was no other way to do it, and I had done everything that I pretty much wanted to do in the game before beating the boss. So I was like, well, this is dumb. I can't beat him and then go do more exploring or whatever. So I don't know, something about that put a bad taste in my mouth after sinking so much time into it. So I've never actually returned to the game since they did anything else.
Me either.
But anyway, so yeah, I liked the game a lot. I would kind of like to play more of it, and I am curious about the DLCs, but I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. My other one is this is maybe very unpopular, because I know we do have some Xbox listeners, which I kind of think defaults, if you're an Xbox gamer, you probably like this game, or at least a lot of people do. But I'm going to go with Gears of War. I think they're all kind of the same game. I enjoy them whenever I play a new one, and especially when one comes out for the next generation of console, like when it came out for Xbox One after the 360 versions, and then the newest one on the, I guess it's Series X and S enhanced or whatever. But I'm like, okay, the graphics look really great. Okay, this looks good. The voice acting is always good in it and everything. Like, there's nothing wrong with the way it looks or plays mechanics wise. But I play it for like an hour or two, and then I'm like, I'm doing the same thing over and over. Like, every mission to me feels the same. You're just shooting and doing the chainsaw gun thing and all that. And I don't know. I cannot get into them. And I honestly can't even tell you if I've ever beaten one of them. I think I've played them all, and I don't think I've beaten any of them, because every time I do, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what Gears of War is. Do you have any experience with those games?
I played a little bit of maybe the second one at one point, and I was not into it at all. It wasn't my type of game, so I don't have much else to say about it. But what you did say about how everything felt like you were repeating, doing the same thing over and over again, was how I felt about the first Destiny when that dropped. Every mission was go here, deploy your robot, fight waves of enemies, rinse and repeat over and over again. That's, I fell off of that really quickly too. But I've heard that Destiny's gotten so much better, so maybe one day I'll check that out again. But yeah, Gears was one that was, from the start, it didn't feel like my kind of game, and I didn't probably give it more than a couple hours.
Well, we'll see. I'm curious to see what the listeners have to say. And I don't know, we may not have listeners after our hot takes. This might have been an awful question to ask.
Sorry.
We might not. There may be no one. We're maybe just talking to no one at this point, Brad. Everyone has turned off the show, and I guess we can just talk about whatever we want. Well, we do that anyway. Well, let's get into the games that we have been playing and theoretically have been enjoying, because we keep playing them. Brad, why don't you give us a little touch base on your Returnal gameplay? Have you beaten that yet, or what's going on?
I have beaten it twice. I've got the main credit roll just from beating the 6 levels, and then after you beat the last boss the first time, once you return to your house, it doesn't explain it so well, but you kind of get this idea that there's more to the game. And if you know the trophy list, you know there is an Act 3. So you have to go through all 6 biomes again, and it was pretty easy to do because within the biomes is a certain fragment of this like medallion that you have to create, and then go beat the last boss again to get the true ending. So I've done that, and now all I'm trying to do is go through each biome and get all the collectibles, which I have 2 of the 6 completely done. And it's just been frustrating because the ones that I don't, I think that the collectibles are just kind of RNG. And because I've been through the second biome several times and can't find some of the things that I'm missing. So I just keep dying and trying again, and it's getting kind of repetitive. So I don't know if the 100% Returnal is going to happen quickly, because I'm kind of getting burnt out on it now that I've completed the story and I'm just on collectibles runs now. So that is where I'm at with that. I might just pick it up here and there, especially since it's on PS Plus now. I can just give Jason his copy back and, download it and play it when I feel like it. But that's where I'm at with Returnal. I'm so happy with it. There were some revelations that I had that I can't really talk about without spoiling it, as I really want you and Aaron and the listeners to enjoy that game for everything it has to offer. And when you do, I can't wait to talk about some things that happened, and I'm just so good. I've been telling people it's by far the best, in my opinion, the best PS5 exclusive, and it's not even close. Like, from the little, the few Ratchet, what do we have? Ratchet and Clank and a few others.
Ratchet and Clank is so good. You weren't really into that one?
No, I loved Ratchet and Clank, but I love Returnal so much more. Like, I didn't go hard on Ratchet and Clank. Like, I have 66 hours on Returnal, and Ratchet and Clank was probably 12-hour game maybe, which is still very, very good. But I don't know that I'd ever play it again. But Returnal, I could pick up and play anytime. It's so smooth, so good, and I wish it was 2020 still, so I can talk about that being a game of the year contender. But it's now, I'm a couple of years late to it, but it's really, really good.
It might be the game of Brad's year.
It could be. I don't know what we're going to do with the podcast at the end of the year. I do need to play some new stuff so I can be in those conversations. But so far, like, my game of the year personally is just based on the time that I put into it is Returnal. But yeah, outside of that, hoping that I'll have 100% next week or by next week, and then I can, spare you guys of talking about it every week from now on. But
what are the collectibles? What is that in Returnal? I can't even think of what that is.
There are scout logs throughout the game, which are found by your old bodies of yourself. They're pre-rendered and everything, because the whole time loop concept of the game is Celine has been through these biomes several times before. So you'll find scout logs amongst, around some random bodies of her that are laying around. You'll find some glowing glyphs on random walls that I think each biome has 10 to 20 of those. And
I've seen those.
Yeah, and there's something else. I don't remember. There's 4 things in each biome, and I have everything but the glyphs, basically. There's a couple of scout logs I haven't got yet, but it's because I've been focusing on the second biome and not the ones where I need the scout logs in. So hopefully next week I'll have that at 100% and, be able to take a break from it, because I'm, like I mentioned on the podcast before, I'm the 100% focused on this before I move on to something else. But I think at this point I need to kind of just take a step back, come back and play it casually now, because I'm starting to feel the burnout.
Okay. What else you got going on?
Since the Resident Evil games have been ported up to PlayStation 5, I went through half of a playthrough of Resident Evil 2 remake to get that platinum, because not all the trophies popped. You were with me on Friday night when I streamed a playthrough of Resident Evil 7, because that
was fun.
That didn't pop every trophy, so we made fun, or we had fun going through we made fun going through that campaign on easy, trying to get all the trophies. We did mess up the item box one, so I had to do one more playthrough, which I did. I remember asking you after I was done, I was like, do I just do this again? Because, like, I want to be done with it. And you're like, don't burn yourself out. And I was like, screw it. I started it again, but I only got halfway and finished it the next morning just to be done with it. So I put like 7 hours in Resident Evil 7 again. But
I wondered how you got done with it so quickly in the morning because you had a run to go do, and I was like,
yep.
don't do that. And I didn't think you started it right after. Oh
I
my
started
gosh.
it right. I asked you because I was sitting there wondering, do I just start it over again? We just spent 3.5 hours going through the campaign, but now that it's fresh on my mind again, I know that I can just tear right through this and get to where I need to be. And so I got all the way back to the ship before going to bed on Friday night, and then Saturday morning after my run, I finished that up. And
you got the platinum on RE7?
You got the platinum on RE7 on PS5 now,
Excellent.
as well as I mentioned RE3 last week, so I did RE2 remake, RE3 remake, and RE7 all within the past week just to port those up to get those trophies, because unlike Xbox, PlayStation just gives you a whole new trophy list again, instead of just porting up the best version like Xbox does. And other than that, not a whole lot else. I've been trying to casually play Kirby, The Forgotten Land. I borrowed that from my buddy Mike since he wanted to borrow Horizon. He's like, hey, I bought Kirby if you want to trade off. I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I've been playing a level or two of that at night and find that really enjoyable, but it's not the kind of game that I can sit down and like, I got to finish this. I just casually play it a few levels at a time, and really fun, really cute game. Never thought I'd be playing a Kirby game in my 30s, but it's actually really, really, really fun. And hopefully once I get deeper into it, I can have more of a analysis, more of kind of like a review of my experience with it. But right now it's just kind of, I think I'm three or four levels in, and I only play it, once or twice a week.
That's a fun game. I actually haven't beaten it just because my interest level hasn't been super there. I know it's a quick game, and Aaron breezed through it with his kids and really enjoyed it. And I enjoy it too, but I'm kind of in the same spot as you are, where I'm not wanting to sit down and do a whole Kirby playthrough. Like, I like it, but I played it. I bought it not long. No, I think I bought it at launch, actually. I may have had it before Aaron did, and played a few levels with Ryan and had fun, and then kind of just forgot about it, moved on to some other things. So I do want to return to it, and I need to beat it with it being a short game.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's just something, I'm like, I got a little bit of time. Let's crank out some Kirby levels, and it's really just smooth, really easy to play and enjoyable. So that's mostly it. What I do have though, what I played specifically for the podcast, and I only played about an hour of it, but it kind of hooked me, so I am going to finish it. Is I thought of you. I was going to call it pulling a Kevin, because I was just kind of scrolling through the new PS Plus, and I found a game called Chicken Police. And I was like, what the heck is this? It's called Chicken Police.
Whoa.
And the subtitle is Paint It Red. And I'm like, okay, let's check it out. And it's this like noir detective story. It's all black and white, and it's these human bodies with like animal heads. And it starts off with this chicken. He's driving a car, and you're seeing it from his perspective. It's in first person because it's a point and click adventure game, but it's detective game. But he's driving his car, just doing this like opening narration, and he's like, it's like 19, I don't even know the era, but like think like LA Noire, but with animal humans. It's wild. But it's got the dialogue that's like, I'm 121 days from retirement, and the crime is still rampant in the city. But
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's been a riot. It has the mechanics of you can talk to people to get more information from them and fill out your codex, and then you have the questioning option, and based on how you question them, based on the information you have, it's very much like LA Noire. In regards to, if you have the right information, you can question them the right way and get the information you need to move forward, and so on and so forth. And the dialogue's really funny for the kind of game that it's presenting. Like, one of the lines that I actually wrote out just to mention it on the podcast is he's having a conversation outside the police station with somebody, and he's getting grief from somebody, and he goes, I'm a rooster, but I hate getting up early. Just things like that. And
yes.
And I played that for like an hour the other day. I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun, and I really want to talk about it on the podcast. So I'm hoping that it continues to be as fun as it was for that hour, and then I can come back to you guys with a full dissection of the game. And it looks like it's got to be like a 6-hour game or something. I can't imagine it's very long. But
no, watch,
so
it's
far,
a 93-hour game.
Yeah, so I've just I played it for about an hour, and I haven't had time to get back to it. But it seems like it's going to be one of those goofy games that you find just sitting there, and end up having fun with, like you did with Turnip Boy, you know. So
Oh, Turnip Boy, yes. Now that
yeah,
that sounds like a Kevin game. I might have to check that out since I also have the PS Plus. And what was it, a PS two game originally, or
PS4. It's a PS4 game.
PS4
Yeah,
game?
it's
Okay.
it's wild. It's photorealistic of like the background. It's static, but the characters, like when they're talking, they're on the screen and they're kind of moving just a little bit, like their arms are moving and stuff. And the dialogue makes it really funny. And I'm curious to see, you know, what is happening in this city. I think it's called Clawville.
Clawville.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah,
awesome. Well, that sounds like fun. I'm gonna have to check that out. So maybe I'll play a little before next week, and then we can touch base on what is it called? Chicken Police Story?
Chicken Police, and the subtitle is Paint It Red.
Okay, Chicken
Yeah.
Police Paint It Red. Now, is there a sequel, or is this the only Chicken Police?
As far as I know, I haven't done any research on it whatsoever. I just saw it on the store. I was like, this might be fun to talk about on the podcast. I'm going to check it out. And I didn't feel like waiting until I was done with it, so I just went with it.
Well, maybe when their downloads go to 2, they will start planning a sequel.
Heck yeah. Let's make that happen.
Let's do it. Well, awesome. We've got a game that we both played that I think maybe we could get into a little bit together, and then I'll go into what I've been playing. But why don't you help me out with this review of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game? This is such a throwback to the old games that I used to play with in the arcade on the Super Nintendo. It's a beat 'em up game in the vein of the old Turtles arcade games, but it is updated with, it's kind of like with my Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. They're pixel games, but super high quality, sharp graphics. You know, it's that it blurs the line between, yeah, it's a pixel game, but it's still really high end in the way the effects move and everything. Sure. It's really it has the feel of the old stuff, but it's updated enough to where I think even kids like Ryan, like my son, was playing with us and was really into it, and he's not huge on retro games and the old. He didn't grow up, obviously he didn't grow up, but he hasn't really gotten into playing beat 'em ups with me like the old ones. So but yeah, I thought that it really nailed the tone of what those old Turtle games were. And even what I thought was surprising about it, I don't remember the old Turtles games being that funny. And there is a lot of humor built in. Like every single level, you will see the foot doing different things. Like if they're like in a news studio,
Playing on their computer.
Yeah, and they're like at desks and they have ties on and they're typing at a computer. And then when they see the Turtles or, you know, in April and whoever Splinter walk by, they will rip off their ties, like their clip-on ties, throw them to the side, and then jump out and attack you. And it's things like that throughout the game. I think there's one level where a guy's working on a car or doing something with a car, and then he gets out from under the car and goes and attacks you. Like there are all these little funny humor things built in, which I really appreciated because, I don't know, to me, beat 'em ups, as fun as they can be, also they can get kind of repetitive, especially when the enemies start looking the same and you've only got a certain amount of attacks. And so little touches like that are things that keep me engaged. What was your impression of the game?
I thought it was really cool. Going back to that retro style beat 'em up, I don't typically gravitate toward those games, and so realistically, the only reason I played it, I had no interest in playing it whatsoever. It looked cool on the announcements on the Summer Games Fest and all that, but when you guys asked me to play it, I'm like, yeah, sure, it's on Game Pass. I can easily pick that up and play it with you, and that's how it's probably going to be. Unless you guys ask me to play it, it's probably just going to sit there idle. It's not my type of game, but I did thoroughly enjoy playing it with you guys. It was a madhouse trying to keep track of my turtle. I was playing Raphael, and there was just people jumping in every direction, and you know, at times I had no idea, am I doing well? I don't know what I'm doing in this madness here. And I'm very much a button masher at heart, you know, and I understand there's abilities and all this stuff as well, but I had fun, but I don't have any desire to just go back and play it myself. I know there's a story mode and arcade mode, but unless it's with you guys, it's, you know, it's just going to sit there.
Understandable. So we're about halfway through. We only played for, what do you think? We played for like an hour and a half. I don't even think we played for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's about right.
and we're halfway through the chapters. So I think there are 12 chapters, if I'm remembering correctly. Now it's been about a week since we played, but I think there were 12 chapters and we made it through 6 in, let's say, an hour and a half. So I'm guessing it's like a 3-hour game. And if you beat all the levels, right? Like we never failed a level and had to redo it. So presuming you have enough people playing and you're good enough to not die, you could probably make it through this game in, let's say, 3 to 4 hours. And something that's really special about this game, now I don't know if all the listeners are familiar with this it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. And what is really special about it is that it's 6-player co-op. It has 6-player online co-op. So usually these beat 'em up games, traditionally they started off with 2-player co-op, and then of course as things progress, there may be some games with 4-player co-op, but 6-player, I've never played a beat 'em up game with 6 play. I mean maybe like X-Men Arcade, but as far as console games and online play, I thought that was pretty unique. Have you ever played with 6 people on a beat 'em up before?
No, not at all. I don't play a lot of beat 'em ups. It was definitely eye opening. I was bewildered by just the chaos that was happening on screen. But we made it fun. We were all on Discord, or just the Xbox chat, and talking and laughing and having a good time. It was very much a positive experience, but it was very hard, like I said earlier, to keep up with all the chaos.
It was really fun. So we had 5 of the 6. So Brad and I haven't even seen what a full 6-player co-op looks like. 5 was crazy as it stands. I'm really curious to get that 6th player in there. We'll have to all team up and try to finish the story mode. And I know that we have some people in the Discord. I think Andy Jones was one of them that wanted to play with us, but had some other things going on and was watching the sports ball and such. But we got to get someone in there for that 6th spot and finish it up. But yeah, it's really cool. You've got your 4 turtles, our characters. I was Leonardo, the best turtle, of course. You were Raphael.
False. The best turtle.
Jarpo was he Donatello?
Probably Donatello. Probably.
And then Ryan was Michelangelo. And then Jarpo's daughter was Splinter. And so we didn't have anyone play April yet. And Casey Jones was not a playable character at the moment. And we know that Casey Jones was announced at the Summer Games Fest thing. So he must be an unlockable after you maybe beat the story mode or something.
Yeah, I'm not certain. But question was going to be, because I do remember Casey Jones being announced, is will it always be 6? Or would that allow it to be 7? I don't know if it's programmed that way or if somebody would just have to be left out.
Yeah, I don't think that it's supposed to be 7. I didn't hear that. And also just going on the way the game is formatted, the character select screen has the 6 slots like you'd have it in an arcade when like press start to join and there were 6 spots spread out. That's not saying they couldn't add it. I mean, if they wanted to and it was programmed that way, they could maneuver things around. But it looks like it's planned for 6 right now. And I'm guessing that's just going to be a 7th character. And my thought would be that, I mean, as easy as it is, if they just can add another character there, why not start kind of like Smash? Why not over time just to keep interest in the game? I wonder if they will allow you to play different characters. Maybe they'll even let you play some of the villains. I don't know. I haven't heard a lot about what's planned, but it to me seems like an opportunity where they could keep adding characters, and maybe for people especially like us that aren't necessarily invested, like we're going to play this a ton over and over, it might be kind of fun to be like, oh, well, I can be the metal Ninja Turtle. Remember, did you watch the cartoon when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I can't remember the names of half those people. We were uncovering all these secrets, like the frog people. Like we'd find them in trash cans and stuff. But I know the character models, but I don't remember their names.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
those frog people were annoying the crap out of me. These frogs stand around and they have like maces, like ball and chains, and they look all tough and they're swinging their weapon around, and you're sitting there fighting the foot and they're just there in the background, like one of those, like when you're playing Street Fighter and there's people in the background going yeah in the background. The frog guys are just sitting there with their weapons watching you. Like I'm like, join in, like, if you're gonna have a weapon.
You guys got it covered. Yeah. We don't need this.
So I was getting pissed at those frog guys. But anyway, so yeah, maybe one of those knockoff Battletoads needs to join the action.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to playing it with my friends again. I'm with you. I wouldn't solo play it. I think that if I'm gonna play that type of beat 'em up game, that's always where I at least want a second person to go through. Our mutual friend Chris and I used to play those games a lot, and I will play them from time to time with Ryan, especially like we have the little Streets of Rage. The arcade one up, we have the little arcade cabinet, and so we can play that. And then I've got the Simpsons arcade machine behind me here that I bought from Arcade One Up. I just so that it's known, my favorite arcade game of all time is the Simpsons arcade game, and that is a 4-player beat 'em up arcade game. And I love the Simpsons. I always have since I was a kid. I've collected all the DVDs and board games and things like that. So I really have fun playing that one. And I was excited because when the thing came out at list priced, it was like $700, and I'm like, I'm not buying a mini arcade cabinet for $700. And then maybe not even a year later, I was so excited that they dropped the price down to $399, and so I grabbed it, and it hasn't gone much cheaper. Someone said that some Walmart stores clearanced it, and they were getting them for like 150, 200, and I was like, oh my god, I wish I could have got that deal. But I was happy I didn't spend 700, so I'll call it a win.
Sure.
Those arcade one-ups are really neat. I have you played on one of those before, Brad?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah.
They're really fun, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen them because they sell them all over the place. I know a lot of gamers have bought them. They're really fun display pieces, and they're like 3/4 scale arcade machines, but they're decorated just like the originals, or most of them look a lot like, with the same artwork, and it really, they do a good job of recreating that experience. So if you're ever thinking about maybe picking one of those up, I've got 2 of them, and I think they're really neat. I know some people you see like on YouTube that are gamers and they review stuff, they have game rooms that are lined with them. It looks like they have an arcade, like a little mini arcade made of these things. So anyway, it's a really fun way to play those old games. But we'll see if maybe by next episode we can get some friends back together and play that. And maybe if some of the listeners want to join in too, let us know, and we can get a 6-player co-op of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles going. The other games I've been playing, so I missed a week and I didn't get to talk about this, and I was really, really excited to talk about my playthrough of Final Fantasy, the Pixel Remaster, on the show, because I started this game and did not put it down. As you know, I was keeping people updated on the Discord, and I knew I was going to be out, so I didn't want to wait a whole week before I talked about this. I actually beat the game like shortly after I talked about it on the show 2 weeks ago. I ended up beating Final Fantasy, the first one, with 28 hours and 52 minutes.
Nice.
And I was level 60, which this was interesting because if you played the old Final Fantasy on the NES, and I don't know if they changed this for like if you played it on Steam before the remasters and whatnot, but the original Final Fantasy only let your characters go to level 50. And so this is one thing that I got really confused about as I was playing. Not only when I started seeing the numbers go up to 51 and 52, I saw I was still earning experience. Like, well, wait a minute. But when I got to the boss, the very final boss, after you beat the 4 main bosses and you light the crystals up, and then you go to the main one, which I don't know if you know much about Final Fantasy, these original ones, but there's time travel involved, which I had no idea was going to be a part of this old original game. Final Fantasy is not a very time travel intensive series as far as my experience goes. So I was really surprised by the original story involving time travel. But you go to this boss, and it's like, we had Teeps from the Discord saying, oh yeah, you can beat him at 40. You know, I always go to 50, and just like me, I like to grind through and I make sure that I'm OP for the bosses, so I'm not sitting there struggling. So I get there, I'm 50. I think I get to 51, 52, 53 maybe, and I take on the boss, die. I'm like, wait a minute. I can beat the boss at 40, but I'm dying at 53? Okay, I fight him again, die. I level up a little bit more. I'm making sure I have all the best items equipped. I've got my armor, I've got my weapons. I'm like, what is going on? I've got all my, I'm buying like 99 ethers, 99 Phoenix Downs. You know, I've got everything. And this dude is just taking me out, like one-hitting my guys sometimes. The boss does a restore where he can restore up to 9,999. Like basically his whole health bar goes back up once you knock him down a good amount. So then your guys are already struggling. You're losing your MP, your using up your items and your guys are dying, and then this guy restores. So I'm like, what is going on here? I'm level over 50. So I actually ended up having to go back out and grind to level 60 to beat the boss, because which was crazy when I've got Teeps over here, and he hasn't played the Pixel remasters, so it's not like he knew, but he's used to going to 50, and so 40 was like, yeah, you can do it. But I'm guessing, I didn't look it up, but I'm guessing you can probably keep going to at least 100 if they're letting me go to 60. Why not? So they actually leveled up the boss, right? So
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can understand. Like, if you're supposed to beat him at 40, whatever, and I can't beat him at 53, so they scaled up the boss with your abilities. So I was under like the false premise, like that I could beat him, and I wasn't actually even ready, even though I thought I was grinding out my levels.
Oh.
So that was a surprise to me. I was a little frustrated just because I got to the boss after playing for 27 hours or whatever at that point, and I'm like, okay, clearly I'm gonna steamroll this boss, and yeah, I had a little bit of a trouble, but I eventually got it down and figured out ways to I would cast protect on all my guys, and then I would do different defensive things. The boss, it ends up that he's invulnerable to magic, so you can't use any of your magic on him, and that is one thing that makes it really hard. So, well, you can use magic, you can use fire and blizzard and that stuff, but you can't like take their defense down. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't give them darkness. You can't make them blind. Those kind of magic. I don't know the exact terminology of it, but they're immune to those spells. So
Sure.
you have to just hit them with fire, hit them with blizzard, but you eventually run out of all that stuff. And then if you're using your wizards to restore health, to protect and do those things, then you're not attacking this dude. And so every time you're helping your characters, you're not getting their HP down and they're taking you out. So you have to really strategize and focus, as these games always are, but especially with this boss being so difficult. I had to really overhaul my strategy. And so it took me several playthroughs, but I eventually got through it. Felt really good to roll the credits. For all the haters out there that said I wouldn't even finish it, I put almost 30 hours into this game with hardly playing anything else. That was really fun. So I'm excited to keep going on my Final Fantasy journey. Brad, you said you had some experience with Final Fantasy. Did you ever play this first one?
No. My
Okay.
first experience with Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy, and I always mess this up. I think it was Final Fantasy 2 in the US and Final Fantasy 4 in Japan, and I'm probably screwing it up, but it's the one where you start off as Cecil. He is a dark like paladin or something. It's been years since I've played it, but I used to go up to the gas station that my mom used to work at. She used to always drive up there and get her newspaper there, and they would have SNES games for rental in the back across from the sodas. And I'd always take a look at them, and I found whichever Final Fantasy this is. And I used to rent it all the time. And I used to get stuck in this like underground cave against something called the Ant Lion. But years later, I finally played it again on the Vita and actually beat the game. And it felt so good after years of I don't want to say years of my childhood, but so much time in my childhood playing that game and not being able to beat it, because I guess just the concept of leveling up and all that stuff, I'd get that far and then just not be able to beat it and be like, oh, I don't want to go grind. I'm going to just go play something else. And so I've never played, to my recollection, I've never played the actual original Final Fantasy. So you talking about these pixel remasters for the last several weeks, especially on the Discord, has made me start to wonder, maybe I should pick those up, because I did also own them on the PlayStation with the Final Fantasy Anthology and the Final Fantasy Chronicles. I remember having those. So maybe I did, whatever games were on there, I probably dabbled in, but I don't know that I've ever played and beat the first Final Fantasy. So it's really cool hearing about it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm having a blast. The Pixel remaster for the first one really brought back a lot of those memories. I couldn't put it down because I had that nostalgia attached to it. I don't think I ever beat it on NES because I didn't remember like the time travel elements, and I was getting to parts of the story that I just did not remember. And I think that as much as I loved playing the game, I would have remembered some of these plot beats and characters. I thought it was really cool that I think the dragon, his name is Bahamut or Bahamut. I don't know how you say it, but he's a summon in the other Final Fantasy games. And so I thought that was really cool. And I think his lore or the character is kind of rooted in Dungeons and Dragons. I was doing some reading, and I think that character actually is inspired by something in Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm not super familiar with, but I thought it was really cool to see this character who is the king of the dragons in Final Fantasy, and you actually talk to dragons, and they talk to you about go see Bahamut, and then he talks to you, and you run, do a mission for him, and then he gives you some stuff and in his respect and everything. So I thought that was cool. I was picking up little characters that were in the Final Fantasy lore that you see callbacks to in 7, in Final Fantasy 8, and these other games. And that's kind of neat because I'd never realized that they were actually a part of a game that came out so long ago. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that one thoroughly. And then as soon as I rolled credits on that, the next game I picked up was Final Fantasy 2 Pixel Remaster. I told you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep playing through these games. Now, the interesting thing about this, and I definitely have not been plowing through this game as much as I have the first one, partly because I don't really know what to do. And that might sound kind of weird because it's a Final Fantasy game. You think, oh, aren't they all kind of the same? Well, Final Fantasy 2 changes a lot. And not only does it change the mechanics of the game with some really interesting things that I'll tell you about, but also, again, just like with the first game, I kind of knew what to do with the story. I knew you have to go here, and then I knew to go talk to this person and go to this part of the map. And, I knew how to do some of these things from memory. But Final Fantasy 2 did not seem familiar to me at all. And this Final Fantasy 2, I believe, would be different from your Final Fantasy 2. So this is not Final Fantasy 2 on the SNES. And we got 2 and 3 here. And that was their 4 and 5, I think. So this is maybe, Final Fantasy 2 for Japan. I don't really know how to explain it all.
It's wild, yeah.
This is not American Final Fantasy 2. So I did not have any recollection of playing this game. I did not know where to go. I did not know about this new mechanic. So with the first Final Fantasy game, as you do in most of the Final Fantasies, I don't know if this is the only one that works this way, but you actually upgrade all of your skill sets and you upgrade your weapons separately. So like you don't say get 1000 XP in your level 2 and then get 1500 XP in your level 3, 2000 for level 4. Like it doesn't progress that way. You fight with a broadsword, or you have a bow and arrow, you have a javelin, or whatever your weapons are, and then you're actually leveling up the different weapons, and the different weapons go to like or at least the spells go to like fire 2, fire 3, fire 4. They upgrade in strength as you use them more, and each one has their own XP, and your health points go up in this kind of erratic fashion. Your magic points go up in that kind of fashion. So I found it really interesting that it's not just beat enemies, get XP, and then all your stats go up together. It's like, well, depending on what you have equipped and what you use, you're going to level those skills up separately. So I thought that was really interesting. Another mechanic of the game that I really like, I think this is super smart, and I don't know why this hasn't caught on more, especially in these turn-based RPGs. Now, I haven't played a ton of JRPGs. Maybe this is a thing, but what they do is you actually have 2 rows for your 4 attackers, and you can put them in the front or the back. And so if you are in the back, you only do half damage, I believe, but you only take half damage. So you can be more strategic about how you put your characters. Like, well, if I put them on the back, I can give them a bow and arrow, and so they'll be able to reach the characters and do more damage, and especially as you level that weapon up. So but they're not on the front line, so they won't take as much damage. And I thought that was a really neat element. Is that something that you've seen in other RPGs?
I feel like the following games, if I remember correctly, again, it's been a while, but I feel like that carries on and through the next several installments. I think the one that I played, is there's a front line and a back line.
A front and a back. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't, when I got to the menu and I saw my characters, you could just basically toggle, like it looked like a light switch running horizontally. And it was like, your character, their little profile picture was on the left, and you toggled it to the right, and it went to the left and right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really understand it. And then I did some reading and they were like, oh, it's front and back. And they explained, I may have not explained it right, but it's something to do with like the back line takes half the damage. Oh, but this is, I think, what it is. You can't use swords and stuff. So if you're on the back line, you can't attack with swords. You can't attack
It's
with a
probably all
javelin.
magic and ranged. Yeah.
Exactly. But the trade off is that you only take half damage. So if you use that other stuff, you can put, I only have one person on the back line, but in theory, depending on your strategy, you could have two people in the back, two in the front, and you could have different people, attacking really strong up front and have your healers in the back. And I think it really adds a different element, which was neat after playing the first one so long and then seeing, well, how do they change it up? How do they evolve the game? And that was a really neat way to do it. But I did think I read that the only game that does the leveling up of the individual stats and the individual weapons is 2. I don't think that caught on for whatever reason. I from my understanding. So listeners, correct me if I'm wrong with this. Again, I haven't gone on to play the other ones anytime recently, but apparently 2 is the only one like that. But I thought it was kind of cool that you're leveling up only the things that you use and you can level. Yeah, it was neat to keep it fresh, because I did just play 30 hours of one. That was that was kind of keeping my attention. I didn't really know where to go, like I mentioned in Final Fantasy 2, and I was like, okay, I'm into the story. I think it's interesting. So where the last one is you're trying to restore all these magical crystals of different elements, and this one you basically have the villain is trying to take over the world, and you have them attacking these different towns, and there are people that are like on the inside, and you have to meet up with them. They're kind of like the rebellion, and you have to go meet up with all these people, and you're planning a way to rise up and stop this guy from taking over. And so I was into the story. You meet Sid, who is a reoccurring Final Fantasy character. So this was really cool. Again, like you hear about Sid in all these different games, and you see him. He is the airship pilot, and so this is the introduction of Sid. So I met him, and he's flying me around the map. I thought it's kind of interesting, these games, the walking, because there is no quote unquote fast travel in the games. In the first one, I got the airship, and you get a canoe and a boat that lets you zip around the map faster, but there's no fast travel, quote unquote. What they did in the second game, I don't know if you ever unlock those different modes of transportation, but you can pay people to use them. So when you're in one of the early villages in 2, you can pay someone that will sail you from basically the bottom of the map to the top of the map in real time. You watch it happen. But that's nice, so you don't have to walk around, and you're not triggering random battles if you don't want to mess with that. And then you meet Sid as the story progresses and stuff is going crazy, and you're able to pay someone to. Okay, side story. Remember the wizards? Do you remember them?
Oh, how could I forget, Kevin?
Okay, so in Final Fantasy 2, I got stuck at a story point, and this is just a problem I have. This was very similar to the inscription problem, I guess, because it was something that now in hindsight seems so obvious. But I get to the part where I meet Sid, and they're like, hey, hire Sid. And you talk to Sid, and he's like, yeah, I'll be able to fly you anywhere, whatever. So I talk to him, and I'm like, oh, here's another thing. I know, sorry, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but in this game, there's a mechanic of you can talk to someone about different story elements, and then when you meet a new character or you get to a new part in the story, you can learn a new keyword, and then that goes into your talking selection. And so it's kind of like when you, in any RPG, when you talk to someone and you have one or like 2 or 3 different options, and it's usually just like part of the story. Well, in this game, you have to use it in order to progress in the story. So if there's a keyword, like very early in the game, so it's not a huge spoiler, but the rebellion or whatever, like they give you a keyword. And so if you speak that, people will know that you're on the good side. And so you learn it from the princess, and then you use it throughout the towns, and that's how you talk with people. And if you don't tell that keyword to certain characters, you're not going to be able to move on. So I thought that was kind of an interesting mechanic too. It's a little bit annoying because if you miss it, so like later on in the game, there was a keyword. I'm talking to all the characters. I learned my lesson from the wizards. I wasn't going to experience that again. I'm talking to everybody, but I didn't pick up on that someone spoke to me in a word that was learnable. And the way that I think that happens is the word is read in the text. And so that's supposed to trigger in your head, oh, you should now go to your learn menu and ask them about it. And then it is one of your talk items that you can talk to everybody about. So I started walking around the map. It was a wizard situation all over again. But
Oh
like,
no.
I have never played Final Fantasy 2 before. I wasn't used to this mechanic. I did it for a couple keywords, but like it wasn't super top of mind, and I just missed it. So, I'm walking all around. I'm on the boat because I don't have the airship at this point. I'm going back and forth, talking to everybody. And I'm like, oh my God, how do I progress in this story? Well, here's the thing. The princess tells you, you need to go to this town. They are building what's called a dreadnought, which is this huge airship with cannons on it and all these weapons. You need to go to the dreadnought and you need to take it out. And they're in this town. So that seems pretty straightforward, right? Go to this town. There's the dreadnought. There's all the evil guys taking over the town. Go talk to the guy that's, give him the keyword and he'll sneak you in the back and you can go destroy the dreadnought. I go there, talk to everybody multiple times. Like, the story will not move. There's a guy standing in front of what you can clearly see in this overhead view. There's a little staircase going down, going to the basement, and there's a guy blocking your path. You give him the secret word. He says, "Oh, you're on the secret team. Okay, let's do this. We're gonna stop them." And then he goes about his business, and you're like, "Wait a minute. There's your secret staircase. I gave you the keyword, right? Like, move. Like, he's blocking your path. You can't get to the basement." I do it again and again. "Oh, you're on our team, go team," whatever he says. I can't, let me through. So I think it's a glitch. I think it's a glitch in the game. I'm like, he's not moving. There's the staircase. I want to just how it's irritating with boundaries in games. You're like, God, just jump over this thing and go to where you need to go. Like, it's right there.
Sure.
So I can't get around this guy because we live in this 2D world and he's standing in front of the path. So I go back to the princess that told me to go to this place, and I'm like talking to her. She says, "Go destroy it." Okay, I get it. I was there. What do you want from me? And I see in red text in one of her words, dreadnought. Like, she's been saying it. It's been a part of our conversations. Dreadnought. I have to learn it. Go to the menu. Learn dreadnought. Ask dreadnought. Okay, now I go back to the town, talk to homeboy, and I say dreadnought. And he goes, "Oh yeah, let's take that thing out." And then he lets me go to the basement. So it's so frustrating because I'm playing the story. I'm getting through all the story beats. I'm talking to the princess. She says, "Go there." I find the dreadnought. I can't get past the dude because I didn't say dreadnought to him. So, and like, I think he said it to me or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so specific in the way you have to handle things. I was not used to it, and I have never seen another Final Fantasy game do this, to where if you're and rightfully so, I hope they do scrap it after this, but like, it's irritating because you think when you're playing a story game and you're talking to the characters and they say, "Go here and do it," like the story's progressing. Well, Nope, you better actually learn this word and say that same word to them, so it's a weird mechanic. I don't like that part if I were to like pick apart something in this game. So that was another one of those time sucks where I wasted 2 or 3 hours, maybe not that long, maybe a couple hours. But I learned that. And then, what I decided to do, I'm like, I'm not that familiar with this game, and I'm not able to put a ton of time into it like I was the first one. So I actually, while I was doing some work, I had it up and I was just grinding while I was doing other work. I was just getting into random battles. So I think I have seriously have 25 hours in this game, and I've hardly played it. But I'm leveled up to where, again, I don't really know how to say it because I don't think there are levels in the game, but a lot of my guys have almost 1,000 HP, which is pretty good. Like, if I'm looking at Final Fantasy 1, my level 60 had 962 HP, and so I'm level almost 1,000 HP, and I guess I'm not halfway through the game yet. So I've just been kind of grinding, and I'm making sure my characters are really overpowered. But I'm enjoying it. I need to get back into it. I've been busy with work lately, so it's not for lack of wanting to finish it. And despite the silly issue with the keywords, it is a fun game. So I still recommend it. If you're going back and playing these games, I'm having a good time with it. It's just hard when, you don't really know what to do, right? Like, the Final Fantasy 1 was so familiar, and even though these games play similarly, I don't really know what some of the little secret things are to do in the game. And so, and I don't want to read the strategy guide. So I'm trying my best to do it on my own. So my goal is, I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but I want to beat Final Fantasy 2 before the next episode. So We'll see if we get there, but that is my goal.
I believe in you as long as those wizards don't get in the way.
Oh, there's wizards in this game, man. I about had I had this PTSD flashback. So in the first game, they use these wizards as little tutorial guys. So in the first, like, the hotel is where you sleep, and then sleeping restores your HP and MP. So if you go to like the other room of the first hotel, there's 4 of them, I think, and you talk to them and they give you little tips. They basically just teach you how to play the game. And so they're there, and then you go in. Obviously I ran into the wizards later, which we know those ones. So I started this game and I go to the main castle, and sure enough, there's like 6 or 8 wizards in a room. And I was seriously, I know, I was having flashbacks. It was horrible, but luckily none of them have like withheld
Not
canoes
today,
from
wizards.
me or anything. I know, but I learned my lesson. I am talking to every single one of these characters.
Good.
I will be learning everything I need to learn. Hopefully that will be the end of those little hiccups, but I'll let you know.
Awesome. It sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm excited, and I really am going to try to get through all these games. So we'll see how far I get. And that's it for me in the last couple of weeks. Is that pretty much do it for you on the games, Brad?
Yeah, like I said, just hard in the Returnal still. So
All right. Well, that'll be your goal. Let's see if you can do it by next week.
hopefully.
All right. Well, let's touch base on some news real quickly here before we wrap up, Brad. The first one that Aaron actually had on the list here was about Jedi Fallen Order. There's a rumor that Cal is going to get his own show. Now, I've heard a lot of people saying there's no way this is going to happen. I know some people, he's like a favorite character. They want it to happen. I don't know. Do you think there's any chance Cal is getting a show?
Yeah, that was me that threw that on here. I wanted to at least get your thoughts on what you thought about the idea of it, because when I first heard, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, because I did like the first game and the story that it told and how he fits into the whole Star Wars canon, right? And I thought, he's pretty much just motion capture of the actor. I forget his name, Connor Monahan, something like that. He was the Joker in Gotham.
Yeah.
But what I started to wonder was, I don't know if Disney has the control, or I guess they do because they own Star Wars, of what, how the development, what story they tell in the game versus what they show in television, and how that coincides with development. So I was expecting, I would expect this game, since they're working on Survivor now, that it's probably, like most things, going to be at least a trilogy. That I don't, and I think the article even covers that, like, if this is going to be a thing, that it's not going to be for a long time, and maybe it's just a cameo in some other thing, because his whole arc happens during post Order 66, and kind of where the Star Wars shows are at right now. So I don't know. I'd like to see it, but I'm curious about the logistics of how it would work. And again, as we can't specify enough, it's complete rumors right now. It was surfaced by a YouTuber who's, I guess, been right before. He's like some kind of insider, but it's nothing to really, dig our heels into at the moment. But I like the idea of it, at least.
Yeah, I think that's cool, and I think it's neat that an original character from the games could make an appearance in the live action series, which those series cross over with the movies and are a part of all the lore, canonically. So I think that'd be really neat if we get a video game character, like an OG video game character, coming to live action.
And it was Cameron Monaghan, not Connor. I apologize.
Oh, okay, Cameron Monaghan. There we go. I liked him in Gotham. I thought he was a good Joker. He was pretty creepy.
I never got that far, but I've heard from you several times to
I know
that first season, but
I'm the only one that says it, because side note here, but if you ever tried if you haven't tried Gotham, I say check it out. If you did try it and you stopped, this is a perfect example when we talk about TV shows. I stopped Gotham in the middle of that first season. I think I stopped right before it, what I will tell you now, got good. I watched that first half of the season. I thought it was so bad. It was dull. Like, it wasn't finding its groove. And then the back half of that first season really picks up, started getting into the characters, and I watched the rest of it. I really enjoyed it. It had its moments that got a little bit cheesy. I don't think as cheesy as some CW shows get. This is a Fox produced show, but some of it got kind of in that vein, but then I think it also did a lot better job with some of the more serious storylines. And I don't know, it's really good. It follows Gordon. It's called Gotham. It's basically follows the Gotham police department and how they handle dealing with all these different villains. And you get Joker and you get Penguin. Penguin is a main character. It's like young Penguin, young Oswald Cobblepot, and he's really good.
He was pretty
So
good.
yeah, I don't know. I say give it a shot. I'm a Batman fan, and I think the show does pick up. So stick with it if you can. And yeah, let's see if Cal ends up though. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
What about another one here that I know is near and dear to your heart? They're finally, what is coming out is Overwatch 2.
Yeah, the big news today. Well, we talked about it last week. The beta for Overwatch 2 is starting next week on my birthday. Yay me! But what's happening in October is they're launching Overwatch 2 in early access. It's becoming free to play, and what they announced today is that Overwatch 1 is basically getting erased. Not, I don't like saying erased, but Overwatch 2 is a giant patch that's reworking Overwatch into 5v5. So the 6v6 that we've known Overwatch to be for 6 years is going to go away. What I'd like to think is that since they have these arcade modes, is that you'll still be able to play classic Overwatch at some point. But what the big news was today was that, like, you're not going to be able to play Overwatch 1 anymore because essentially Overwatch 1 is becoming Overwatch 2, at least in the multiplayer facet of the game. So when it was announced in 2019, it was all announced as a PvE experience. Overwatch 1 wasn't changing. Like the competitive multiplayer and everything is still going to exist today. But Overwatch 2 is essentially going to be this PvE experience. And since then, they've had a lot of turnover and a lot of, lawsuits and everything for other reasons there at Activision Blizzard. But so since then, they've changed the Overwatch multiplayer experience to a 5v5 game. And it's kind of, I'm just kind of whatever about it, because I know people are going to be upset, because Overwatch is changing, but what do you think about that? The fact that, like, the game, it's still going to be essentially at its core, instead of 6v6, it's going to be 5v5, but the game as it exists today won't exist in a few months, right? Because it's basically getting reskinned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like when Destiny 2 came out, Destiny 1 was a separate game. They didn't erase Destiny 1. It was like you have to buy Destiny 2 and it's a separate thing. And then I guess I haven't played Destiny 1 in forever, but I'm guessing those servers don't work anymore. But they didn't exist simultaneously. It was like this is a new game. And so Overwatch is basically, which I think this is smart. I do think it's smart, because why run two things simultaneously? And of course you want people to play your newest game. So yeah, right. Upgrade it. Just turn it into what is going to be the thing. You don't want half the people playing Overwatch 1 and then you can't get them to try the second one because, I love the OG and I don't want to play the new stuff or whatever. Like if this is where their focus is and they're going to Overwatch 2, I think you just throw people into it. And something that Fortnite does, which I'm guessing, because Fortnite is one of the biggest games in the world, I'm guessing they're taking note from Fortnite, and Fortnite has a ton of different game options you can play now. So like Fortnite originally started off as you could do solos or duos or squads or quad or whatever, 4-player. And it's always 100-person battle royale, but you have those different teams. And then over time, they're like, well, what if we had this battle royale? What do they call it? I don't play it that much anymore, but it was basically like 100v100 or 50v50. So, it's like deathmatch, but with huge teams. And then they were like, well, what if we do one with mechs? And what if we do one with no building, which is a really popular one now. And so for a while, they just cycled different game modes and they would try a new one, they'd get rid of it. And then now I think you can choose from like 20 different game modes at once. Like they've kept a lot of them in there. And so my guess is Overwatch is seeing that and they're like, okay, we may have you try these 3 main modes or whatever, but they can throw a 6v6 in there or a 3v3. They can try different things, and depending on how popular they are, I think my guess is that they're going to make the OG crew happy, and they're going to be ways that are very similar to what they're used to playing while also incorporating the new stuff.
Yeah, I agree completely. That's you brought up a good point too that I thought about earlier, is that this game, with the introduction of new heroes and abilities and just so many people playing it and doing things, they see the statistics and there's constant tweaking of these characters that it would be impossible to have 5v5 and 6v6 both be balanced because of just the way they introduce these characters and have to change things up. That the 5v5 game, especially having played it briefly on the first beta and we'll be playing again next week, it plays so much differently because the characters have different abilities to ramp up the 5v5 and make it exciting. And, you know, if you try to put all those characters back into 6v6, it would just be incredibly imbalanced because it's a completely different thing. Like in 5v5, you only have one tank, while in 6v6, you could have, especially if it's open queue, you could have all 6 of them. There's so much balancing and everything that it makes sense. And I think there's going to be outrage at first because people are going to want to play the game as they know it. But
right,
Blizzard wants them to play the game as they're evolving it into what it's going to be. So that's the big thing. They're doing away with loot boxes and all that stuff too, but everything's going to be converted at launch of the early access in October. So that's the big.
So you get all your skins, you get everything is carry over.
Coming over. If you're like me, where you don't even need to open loot boxes anymore because you have everything. I have dozens stowed away. I could open them, but they announced today or yesterday, I think, in a Reddit AMA that everything that you have existing will be opened and just convert over to your account. So when you have duplicates,
get new stuff,
you'll get currency. The boxes when you get them, they're predetermined at the time that you get them. So it wouldn't be any of the new stuff that comes out with the new game. It's just going to be currency that I just have sitting in boxes at the moment.
but so you can buy new loot boxes. Like, aren't there any like free loot boxes that you can buy with in-game currency? Or I don't know how the two works. Like, you can't.
Oh no, the new game's going to do away with loot boxes entirely. So I think it's all going to be like Battle Pass stuff and things that you earn by playing. I don't know much about Battle Pass. I was going to ask you about it, but in the interest of time, I omitted it. But I know Halo does it, and Fortnite I know that you're very familiar with, and some other games. I think that like if you buy like a Battle Pass, Warzone is another one where you earn these like perks by having this Battle Pass and these experiences and stuff. So I haven't been following the new stuff too closely, but I'm very interested to see how it develops over time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's neat. And I think that's a really a huge plus for Blizzard Activision, and Lord knows they need it at this point. The loot box gambling thing has been a big bone of contention for in the gaming industry, and especially with parents, with these kids teaching them to gamble. It's not only costing a lot of money, which obviously kids are trying to spend their parents' money, and it's a huge thing, but it's teaching them to gamble. Oh, I didn't get the thing, let me try again. Oh, I got to open it again. Jimmy got the whatever legendary outfit and I just have these basic ones. And it's a really, I think, a bad thing to teach kids. So I props to them for getting rid of it. The Battle Pass thing works great. Like you said, all these other games are doing it. You spend $10 a month and there's 100 tiers, and there are free ones too. So like there will probably be, if you get the free tier, like the built-in Battle Pass, you can probably get like 15 things if you make it to 100. And if you buy the $10 a month, if it works like all the other ones, then you can unlock like 100 things if you get to a level 100, or 50 things if you get to level 100. They basically just open up special items that will unlock at level 5, level 10, level 20, different clothing items and whatever, and they're predetermined, so there isn't that gambling aspect. You see the Battle Pass 1 to 100, and you can see if I get to 70, I'm going to get this legendary character, this outfit, or the new character. The way Fortnite does it is with their Battle Pass, which is kind of neat. Just for buying the Battle Pass, you get 2 characters right off the bat for free, so you get 2 new skins, and then as you get to like each tier, usually each tier I think has a new character. So as you get to each milestone, no, I said milestone because the other podcast, as you get to each milestone, you can unlock a different character, and these aren't just outfits, they're actually new characters, and they'll do like every other one. So let's say level 10, you unlock whatever, this cat character, And then level 20, you unlock the different skin or like the different color variant of that cat character. And then level 30, it's a different character. Level 40 is a variant of that character. So they'll go back and forth, but out of 100 levels and 10 tiers, you'll get 5 new characters and 5 new variants. And so it takes away that element of like, oh, I better keep buying them to get these characters. It's like, no, you just know the more you play the game, you can expect to get these different items or characters, and it gives you incentive to keep playing. You know, much like we talk about with Rogue Legacy, where you're like, oh, I'm getting these new abilities, and if I get a little bit further and a little bit further, it's that kind of incentive where you're like, but this time you know what they are, right? And
Yeah.
so that works, I think, for people too, to get them to keep playing your game, which is the ultimate goal, is to get people to not get sick of the same, you know, in theory, the very similar type of gameplay.
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited to see it implemented.
Yeah, me too. And I appreciate you explaining that, because like I'm not super familiar with Overwatch, and so it being a 2, I wasn't so sure what was changing with it. So I'm interested to see how the new 5v5 works, and also to see how many different modes they'll come out with and all that. Couple other news items, very small ones. Apparently, it was confirmed, the long speculated rumor that Michael Jackson did the music for Sonic 3. Well, surprise, he did. It was
It's wild.
yeah, Yuji Naka, the creator, said that, yeah, I think I was reading that it was in combination with, they were doing a Sonic Origins, which is a remastered compilation of Sonic 1 through 4. Something to do with answering questions related to that. I think someone said, did Michael Jackson do the music or something? And he's like, yep, he was the one that did it. And then he started sharing pictures on Twitter of like, here's when I went up in a helicopter on his property, and showing the different experiences. So like everyone, including, you know, the creator who worked with him, like kept this a secret all these years. And I think that's interesting.
That's what I was about to ask. Was he just uncredited?
Yeah, I'm
Or-
obvious. Like no one knew, so
Yeah.
I don't know, Michael. I mean, and again, this is just coming out, so I don't think we have like a huge backstory on it. But for whatever reason, it reminds me of. Do you know Michael Jackson did a voice in The Simpsons?
I think I heard that before.
Uncredited?
Probably from you.
Yeah. Okay, it's uncredited. So he plays a character who's a musician, and it's a Lisa episode. It's really interesting. So he did the voice, and everyone thought he did the voice. And the character is like in an insane asylum, and the character thinks they're Michael Jackson, right? So it's actually like a Michael Jackson centric episode. So of course the character sounds like Michael Jackson, and when the character sings, they sing like Michael Jackson. And so the long-standing rumor was, that's Michael Jackson doing the voice. And I think it was denied. Michael Jackson denied it when he was around. This was an early episode, and you know, it was never confirmed or anything. And so it finally came out that Michael Jackson voiced the talking part of the character, but it was a Michael Jackson impersonator who sang the songs in the episode, which is like, I think it may have had to do with like his record label, like his contract. He couldn't do songs or something. I don't know, but it's like, so it's a character that thinks they're Michael Jackson, voiced by Michael Jackson, but not singing Michael Jackson. So
that's just interesting to me, because that, like, I wonder, you know, if that was just a personal choice, like he wants to like secretly do this stuff. And because like to me, when you first said that today, I was interested what this news story was about Michael Jackson, because I heard rumblings of it, and I told you ahead of time. I'm like, I'm interested what the story is, because I don't necessarily know what it is. But when you said that, I was like, wouldn't the Sonic producers want people to know that Michael Jackson scored the game? Because I would think that would lead to much more sales, right?
You know, I'm guessing that it may also be like another contract type thing. I don't know if Michael Jackson could do other musical projects without, you know, having to, if like he took a certain amount of money, if he had to like pay that out to the label, or if like he just couldn't without their approval. So it may have been a secret project because he liked the games and wanted to be a part of it, but couldn't technically announce it or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a bummer, especially with like someone that was that talented, that like if they were into Sonic and wanted to make a Sonic soundtrack, like it's a shame they couldn't be recognized for that or whatever. But I don't know, for any Sonic heads out there, Sonic 3, that was MJ. So that'll be interesting. I'll have to go listen to it, because I couldn't for the life of me tell you what the music in Sonic 3 sounded like.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
I mean, in my head, I'm kind of thinking like what Sonic music is, and like I'm thinking of like the Green Hills theme, like the very basic Sonic
Sure.
like the
Wow.
I don't.
Did you score a Sonic game?
I know that, believe it or not, that was not me pressing a soundboard. That was me humming the theme. So yeah, we'll have to go back and listen to that. But interesting news there coming out many years later. What's going on with this Plague Tale Requiem thing? You're on here trying, like, you talk about these collector's editions that sit in your closet and you don't want to buy anymore, but somehow you still want to buy them and people are trying to get you to. What is so special?
It's beautiful. I love the Plague Tale, and today marks since they announced the release date of October 18th for their sequel, Plague Tale Requiem. Today also launches my campaign to get you and Aaron to play the game, and I will remind you weekly now that you should, because the first game was absolutely incredible. Slow start.
I've played the first one. I haven't.
You finally played it?
I've played it. No, I played it years ago. Devin got me to play it.
Good. Yeah. It's a slow start, but by the end of it, it's so compelling, and I love the relationship between Amicia and Hugo, and I can't wait to see what their next adventure is. But yeah, additionally to the release date, I don't know if pre-orders were already available, but I also saw on Twitter today that they have a collector's edition of a statue of Amicia and Hugo. But unfortunately, the whole thing, I mean, it comes with a vinyl, it comes with some other accessories, and of course the game and some art and all that. But it's nearly $200, and I'm kind of at the point where, like, I love the first game, and I don't want to miss it, but I also kind of want to just gamble and see if I can get it for a lower cost later on. Like, you've showed me discounted collector's editions in the past, so I'm like, maybe
it's I mean, like you said, it is a gamble though. It could be like The Last of Us, where they sell out super fast and they're 3 times as much on eBay, or it could be like Cyberpunk, where you can get a $200 CE for $70. So I don't know. I will just tell you, Brad, it sounds like you really, really love the first game. If this is something that you really love and really want, like, I don't want you to be mad at me if it goes half price.
I have all you guys on Twitter telling me to do it. I know. I posted about my conundrum, and you all like, do it.
But if it sells out and then there's $700 on eBay, you're never gonna get it. Like, it sounds like you really want it. If you're gonna spend $70 for the game anyway, maybe you should just spend the $100, get the statue, get the vinyl, get the cool box or whatever. It just sounds like something you really want. So don't pull a Witcher. Don't skip the thing that you really want.
Update for the listeners. My buddy Adam, who lives down in Arkansas, went to V-Stock this past week and found the Witcher 3 statue used in their cabinet and bought it for me.
No way.
So I don't have the box. I don't have all the extra stuff, but I don't have it yet. I got to go down or wait for him to come up to St. Louis. But the collector's edition statue has been purchased for my collection, and I cannot wait.
Very happy for you. Can I ask you, I'm just curious, does the statue sell for as much as the CE retailed for, or was it reasonable?
It was $70. I have no problem saying it was $70 for the statue, which is $10 more than what the game cost. I don't remember what the collector's edition of the Witcher 3 retailed for. It was probably
probably 150 or 200 or something.
Yeah,
so that's not bad. I mean,
I had no qualms. I asked him to take a good look at it. I trust your judgment. If you see any cracks, any missing paint, if the paint looks bad, it's a judgment call, but I trust you. And he's like, I got it. And I'm like, all right, here's your money. I'll come get it one of these days down in Arkansas. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I'm happy for you because I know you really wanted that one.
Yeah.
The last piece of news here, Brad, I know this is very exciting for you. You've been waiting with bated breath. Every moment you're sitting by the phone, you're sitting by the telegram, waiting for a wire to come through. What is Chris Pratt's Mario going to sound like? And apparently, according to the producer, and according to Chris Pratt himself, I believe, it is going to sound, quote, unlike anything we've ever heard before.
It was a slow news day. I threw that on there because I wanted to ask you,
yes,
if you've already impersonated a Sonic score in the past 5 minutes. Now I'm going to ask you what you think he's going to sound like as Mario. And if you would like to impersonate that.
Well, so they've already said that it's not going to be an Italian accent. And I don't think in 22, if you're the classic voice actor that has done Mario for almost the character's entire career, it's a character trait, and I get them sticking with that voice. But if you're going to do a movie and you're going to have Chris Pratt play it, you can't have Chris Pratt put on a fake Italian accent. You just can't do it. So they're not going to do the accent. He says it's going to be unlike anything we've ever heard before. I'm willing to bet, and I don't know what I'll put down here. Maybe I'll just bet a copy of Cyberpunk or something, because that's what I have access to. I bet it's going to sound like Chris Pratt. I don't think the character is going to sound like anything else, unlike anything we've ever heard before, because we've never heard Chris Pratt voice Mario. That's the only technicality there. It's not going to sound like anything.
My same friend who got me that Witcher statue, I was on the phone with him before this podcast, and I go, what do you think Chris Pratt's Mario is going to sound like? And he said the exact same thing you did. He's going to sound like Chris Pratt. So my question was, do you think at any time in the movie he's going to hold his hands up like he does in Jurassic World to Yoshi?
Oh my God, that's kind of brilliant. I didn't think of that. They're both Universal properties, right? Because like Illumination and Minions, like they're at the theme parks and stuff. So like there's that connection with Universal as the studio that distributes them or whatever. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that. I mean, that's kind of brilliant. Like, as much as the hand thing annoys me, I thought it was so ridiculous in Jurassic World Dominion. Like, dude, you have trained a raptor. You can't just go up to any dinosaur and hold your hand out. You're not a magician. You don't have like secret powers or anything. Like, that doesn't work. You trained a raptor to know what that meant. So the fact that he
practicing to train Yoshi.
Yeah. The fact that he did it 30 times in that movie, don't even get me started on it. It's ridiculous. And then he got Grant to do it. Oh my God. It's just so sad. But with that being said, that's a funny Easter egg if he does it, if he tells like Yoshi to hold on or something and puts the hand out. That's funny. I like that as a nod to it. Now, if he did it to 50 times to different Yoshis in the cartoon, like if he keeps doing it, that's annoying. So don't don't do the joke 20 times or anything. But
yeah.
I like the character of Mario. I don't mind Illumination. I know some people, for whatever reason, I know it's chic to hate on, like on film Twitter, to hate on Illumination. I think the Despicable Me movies are pretty fun. I like the Sing movies. I thought both Sing movies were really good. The second one that came out last year was really entertaining. So I don't have a problem with Illumination. I'm excited to see Mario finally get a feature film, like an animated film. I know they've got the
They've
got the masterpiece. No, trust me. If there's anyone, I'm on the record. Go on Twitter. I love Super Mario Brothers, the movie. But I'm excited for them to get a cartoon, like the Mario that we're used to, that design from the game. Obviously, it's going to be more faithful. Like the brilliant Mario Brothers masterpiece was very much an inspired, like it's so unlike anything that Mario ever was, and I think it's brilliant because it is so weird and so different. But I'm excited for them to, with their really slick, super high def clear animation, to make a Mario that looks like the Mario we know and the Mushroom Kingdom and introduce us to that world in that format. So I'm willing to give it a shot. And I just don't think Chris Pratt's going to do like this incredible voice. I mean, think about the Lego movie, right? And he's good as Emmett. He's funny, like his humor comes through, but he's not doing a voice. He's
right.
Chris Pratt, right? And so
he's arguably Chris Pratt in everything.
Yeah,
honestly,
I will be shocked. We'll just put it this way: I will be shocked if Mario sounds different than Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
because what could he do? What could he possibly do? He's not doing an Italian accent. If he doesn't just do funny Chris Pratt voice, like what voice is he going to do? Like, what voices are there that he could be doing?
It makes me wonder, or I start thinking about Bradley Cooper. When they casted Bradley Cooper as Rocket, I was like, what's Bradley Cooper going to do? But now when I hear Rocket Raccoon, it's, I hear Rocket Raccoon. I think he does a great job with it. And of course, there's alterations and everything too. So like, I know it's Bradley Cooper, but at the same time, he gives that character a voice. So I'm hoping that Chris Pratt can do something similar to that. Like, I'm always going to know, of course, it's Chris Pratt, but maybe
I know what you mean.
The mix of the animation and everything, that we can forget that.
Yeah, I'm not going to root against him. Like I said, I think it could be fun. I want it to be fun. I'm excited. I'm not against the production or anything like that. So let's see what happens. But it'll be funny to, once we get that first trailer, to hear what the voice is like. And we'll come back on here and we'll see how different it actually is. Then
can you imagine the first trailer? Like, I'm wondering, like if it's like, in my mind now, I'm putting a trailer together of just flashes of things happening and like an overall narration, and then at the very end we hear Chris Pratt just go, "Here we go." Just like the voice reveal is the very last shot of the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we get that and it's like him with a French accent and he's turned Mario into a completely different, and we're like, wow, that is unlike anything we've ever heard. Okay, fair enough. Well, we will have to wait and see, Brad. We won't know until we get at least that first trailer. But that does it for game news, unless you have any other exciting developments that have happened during the last day.
Nope, I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, before we sign off here, I will say some very exciting news for you, the listeners. We got some reviews last month. We appreciate it. We really, really enjoyed hearing from your feedback on the show, getting those ratings, which does help encourage others to listen to the show when they see those positive ratings. So thank you, everyone who participated. And I have yet another copy of Cyberpunk 2077 to give away. This on the platform of your choice, being either PlayStation or Xbox. So I'm going to say we run it through July because June's almost over. So if you get us in, if you obviously haven't reviewed us again, or if you have reviewed us on one platform and you didn't win last time, if you review us on a different platform, as long as we either see it or if it's on one of those ones that Aaron says like that don't pop up automatically, just send us a screenshot. But you're welcome to enter again, even if you've reviewed us on a different platform. Review us somewhere else or review us anywhere. Let us know about it. We will enter you in to win a copy of Cyberpunk through the month of July. So please do that, because the reason we mention it every week is it really does help people find the show and let them know that this is a show worth listening to. Like, subscribe, follow us on social media, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Games We Love. There's links on our website. All the social media channels are listed there. You can subscribe to the podcast. If you're just streaming this on the website or whatever, you can find it on all those different podcatchers. So go to the website and it shows you all the different links to subscribe. Go to Spotify, Stitcher, whatever the other ones are. Good Pods, that's another app that I've gotten into recently, which is really cool. It's like a social media for podcasts. So you can go on Good Pods and leave us a rating and review there. And you can actually rate and review specific episodes, which is really neat. So instead of just saying, hey, this show is 5 stars, you can say, hey, that episode that Brad and Kevin really rocked, they were just awesome, talking about wizards and Mario voices and collector's editions that will sit in Brad's closet. 5 stars. That is an awesome episode. You can do that and people will see that this episode is one that they should listen to. So go ahead and do that. Thank you so much for your support and listening to the show. This podcast is for you. We'll be back soon. Hopefully it will be the trio and Aaron will be feeling better. So get out there and fall in love with a game.